Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and I decided to do this video because there's been a lot of questions on should they be playing Endymion or should they be playing Pendulum Magician as their first Pendulum deck, and I figured out that why not just do a quick video to explain the difference between the two and the pros and cons between the two before you jump into creating one of them, and hopefully this will give a better idea of like, is Pendulum Magician a better deck or is Endymion a better deck. And to be honest, I won't say that there's a huge tier difference in the both deck, but I'll just be sharing the pros and cons of both deck, and everyone can decide again what you want. So before I continue, if you're enjoying the content so far, do remember to help me by subscribing to the channel or liking the video and even commenting down your questions that you might have after watching the video. I'll be more than happy to help out with answering some of those questions, or you can also join our Discord channel and we can have a more in-depth discussion there. So without further ado, let's jump right into the both decks here. So I created a sort of like I would say an infographic, more like a chart to explain some of the pros and cons of Endymion and Pendulum Magician. So the top will be about Pendulum Magician, while the bottom will be Endymion. Yeah. So let's jump right into the general concept first. So for the two decks, the main for Pendulum Magician, I mean, the general concept is really just to get out a bunch of magician and then you loop them by linking, synchro, exit or anything, so, and then adding cards back to your hand. So there's a lot of summoning for Pendulum Magician, and after that you'll need to rely a lot on your extra deck to bring out your negation and stuff. Yeah. So and yeah, they also focus on bringing out a lot of negation, which is actually the same thing as Endymion. So actually both relies on bringing out a lot of negations and then hoping to stop your opponents during their turn. But Endymion is more of a triggering spell, activating spell by adding spell counter to activate their effects. So you rely heavily on spamming a lot of spells just to add more spell counter, and then you can actually like summon from your extra deck, summon from your extra deck, summon from your deck, or summon from your hand. Yeah. So these are mainly these are the general concept. So both are just bringing out a bunch of negation if you're going first. Then if you're going second, you just need to try to clear your opponent field and then OTK during their turn. I mean during your own turn. Yeah. So regarding that, is they are roughly the same. Setting up negation for first turn and second turn clearing and then OTK. Yeah. So not a huge difference there. So what are the advantages of both decks? So these are just my opinion because I might not have played Endymion much, so some of them might not be accurate. I mean, that's what I experienced as of now. So if there's other Endymion player out there, do feel free to comment down as well to share your thoughts. So for Pendulum Magician, I would say the advantage is actually it's quite consistent. Even if there's like a few one hand trap, it's hard to really stop Pendulum Magician because we don't play hand traps in the first place. So even if you negate one of them, there's actually 4 more other Pendulum cards in our hand that we can bring it out. So in terms of that, I would say it's very consistent in terms of bringing out multi-negation board. So if there's no hand trap if there's a few hand traps from them, it just means that your board is a bit smaller, but there will still be like maybe at least 2 negation or even 3. Yeah. Then there's many different ways to reach your end board. So for example, if I'm playing the artifact side build, there's no one straight way to get there. As long as you have 2 monsters and a tuner, you can actually get there. And if you have more, then you can go through a few hand traps before you reach the end board. So there's a lot of ways to play this deck. And yeah, I would say the fun part is there's a lot of variation for Pendulum Magician. If you also can take a look at one of my video, which I think I'll share it in the link in the description as well. There's a video I did which explains the different variation of Pendulum Magician, which Endymion, I don't think there's a lot. I mean, I know there's like a spell book one to add more counters, and then there's a Sky Striker one that also helps to activate more spells, but it's mainly still revolving around spell counters. But for Pendulum Magician, if you're playing a different build, the end board, the combo, the way you start the game is all very different. Yeah, so I would say Pendulum Magician is pretty fun in terms of the variation. But then Yeah, one good thing is because Pendulum Magician focuses on Pendulum Summon, you are able to actually get out a lot of monsters at once. So if let's say your opponent doesn't have anything on the field and you are going second, you can actually just do a one pen summon and you might already have 8,000 damage on your field. Yeah. So this is the advantage of Pendulum Magician. While for Endymion is really, to me at least, it has a high burst capability whereby it can summon out a very strong monster with a lot lesser special summon, and then this monster they even have negation itself, such as Jacket King. And Pendulum Magician, if you want a decent board, you actually need a lot of summon. You get your Electromite need to come out, your Astrograph you need to link into maybe like Hardy $3, then Hardy get our tuner for your Savage Warlord, or you get our Absolute. So there's a lot of things that you need to do before you even can get out first negation. And they are actually a lot more prone to Nibiru. But for Endymion, you can actually get out your first negation just by special summoning only once, because like for example, Endymion Servant can actually bring out one monster from the deck, which most of the time we will bring out either Jacket King or Mighty Master. So for both, I find that this is really in terms of Endymion deck, is a lot easy, not say easier, is they require a lot less summon before they can bring out some negation. And if let's say they can bring out a few more monster by special summoning, it means that their field is roughly there already. It's like they already have a bunch of big monster on the field. That's why I'm saying it has a high burst capability. And yeah, it's very strong going second, because Endymion boss card, which is this, I'm not sure why is it called Founding Sorcerer, but the game call itself Mighty Master, I think. Yeah, so the boss card itself, one you can use its effect, remove 6 spell counter, and you can destroy cards on the field based on the number of cards that can put spell counter on your field. So for example, if you have like one field card and then another Endymion skill and maybe one more monster on the field, you can actually destroy 4 cards already. So overall it's a pretty strong card, and this effect is considered a spell effect, so it can't be negated by Effect Veiler or any spell negation effect. So once it come out, it can already destroy that. Your opponent can't respond after the effect resolve. So that's one of the reasons why I'm saying this card is very good at going second, because of this card. And because if you are going second, most of our effects are all spell, so you can actually keep activating to get more spell counters. And yeah, I would say this deck is easier to pick up, because to be honest, Pendulum Magician takes me a lot of time to learn. But Endymion, mainly you just need to know which are your key cards, which I'll explain later as well, like which are your key cards to bring out, which ones to bring out. And then after it's very straightforward. It's either you get like a Jacket King on the field for 1 negation, or get out 2 for 2 negation, or you can get a Mighty Master for a spell trap negation as well. So it's mainly very straightforward. And yeah, this deck doesn't rely a lot on your extra deck or even your pen summon. So even if you didn't pen summon using this deck, you can already get out a bunch of monster. And to me, the pen summon is very optional, like it's a bonus that you can pen summon. Yeah. And you don't rely as much as on your extra deck as well, although it's good to bring out Electromite and stuff, but it's, most of the time it's like optional. You don't really need to go into any more links or stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that's roughly it for the advantages, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot more, but I'm just trying to compare between these two decks, so I'm not gonna like go through every single thing. And let's go take a look at the disadvantages. Okay, let me bring it here. Okay, so for disadvantages, Pendulum Magician is actually very weak going second, especially because we don't play hand traps. So, but if you add in hand traps, your deck will be a little bit less consistent, but at least you have some sort of thing if you're going second. So for example, putting Maxi in, going second is good that you draw, but going first, if having Maxi in your hand, it actually cut down your combo by quite a bit. And then if let's say your opponent negates one of your card, you're only left with 3 cards in your hand that can do your combo, which is quite little. And Pendulum Magician itself is a very hard deck to learn, and I think a lot of people here has tried playing this deck for quite some time, and you should realize that actually this deck, there's a lot of ways to do. There's so many effects to take note, like there's Black Fang actually has 2 effects, one to revive, and actually you can throw stuff into your graveyard so that your Black Fang can revive later, or your Electromite, if you destroy something, just make sure that when you summon Astrograph, something's been destroyed, so your Astrograph can add a card. And yeah, there's many things to take note of this deck, and that is why this channel actually focuses on Pendulum Magician, because I think there's a lot of things to take note of from this deck. But I think that's what makes the deck fun as well. Then another thing is Pendulum Magician is very weak against Maxi. So if opponents Maxi and let's say you're halfway through your combo and they Maxi at a very good time, and it's either you end your field with a very awkward board with no negation, or you continue doing and then let them draw a lot and then get out the rest of the negation. So both ways is quite bad for us, and most of the time we will try to go into Babushka to counter this disadvantage of ours. Although Babushka can store them for quite a bit, it might not work most of the time. Yeah, so we are very weak against Maxi. And this deck relies heavily on pen summon and extra deck, yes. So we really need the pen summon. So for example, if they judgment our pendulum summon or solemn strike our pendulum summon, more or less we are pretty much dead. It's as good as taking an EBU and then you can't do anything else more. Yeah, so we rely quite heavily on this pen summon, which as compared to Endymion, they don't, because they actually summon from the scale or summon from the deck. So it's actually a lot. The Endymion isn't that affected by the pen summon. Yeah. And okay, that's roughly it for Pendulum Magician. And for Endymion, the disadvantage is it requires very heavily on spell counters and spell activation, and that is why in the deck we have a lot of drawing power just to activate a spell and then draw to add one more card back to our hand, and then you can activate again. And if let's say you have too many pendulum monster in your hand, which means that you can only activate like 2 spells. First you activate one skill, and second you activate your second skill, which adds one counter to your earlier skill. But that's not enough, because Endymion need at least 3 spell counters to do something. So this is something that I learned it the hard way when I'm playing Endymion. And yeah, another disadvantage is this is a very expensive deck. So in general it costs around 750 UR token just to make this deck on average. Yeah, I'm talking about the cheaper version, not the spellbook version. The spellbook itself costs quite a bit more. So if you are really thinking of going to this deck, think twice, because if you are spending so much gem in this deck and in the end if you don't like it, it's gonna hurt your wallet quite a bit. Or if you're gonna just keep playing this deck until you're happy with the deck. Yeah. And okay, this is just in my own opinion. This is a very chance heavy deck because you rely a lot on your spell activation that draws, and then depending on what you draw. So I would say that it's hard to say what kind of board can you build with, let's say, this set of cards, because you won't know what you draw for the next few cards. So it's pretty hard to say. So to me it's really a chance kind of thing. Like if you didn't draw the right card, or you get like 5 pendulum cards instead, it's pretty bad for the deck. And this deck instantly dies to Duel and Lock and Impure Order, because without the spell count, if we can't activate spell that draw cards, we can't add spell counters. So with Duel and Lock in place, we can't activate those spells, and then in the we will be unable to add spell counters. And with Imperial Order, you won't be able to activate spell as well. So this deck dies very easily to Imperial Order. Yeah. But other than that, I would say the rest is still okay. But I think stuff like Vanity, Emptiness, Pendulum Magician has a better way to remove Vanity as compared to Endymion. Yeah. Yeah, overall these are the advantages and disadvantages of the deck. And yeah, just do a quick run through of some of the key cards in both decks. So for Pendulum Magician, of course there's your Astrograph, which allows you to add one card that's being destroyed distant to your hand, and it can then special summon itself. And that is why Electromite and Astrographs are like best friends. Your Electromite will most of the time throw Astrograph into your extra deck. And then Hardy Freebird is also a very important card here, because it brings out the tuner. And although we have a lot of synchro monster in the deck, we don't run a lot of tuners. So Hardy Freebird is needed if to bring out your tuner as well. And also this card is useful because it combos with your artifact side variant. Then one of my favorite, Purple Poison as well. Purple Poison actually destroy a face side card once it's being destroyed, and it's pretty easy to destroy this card. Either you destroy yourself, or you just normal summon it and go suicide with one of your opponent. And if let's say they have skill drain or Vanity Emptiness that you really want to destroy, so this card actually helps with that. And then Pendulum Magician has one of the stronger trap in the game, which is their Pendulum Graph card. This card actually destroys one of your magician and one card on your opponent field. But if one of the card fail to be destroyed, you can trigger its third effect, which it instantly sends one card on the field to the graveyard without targeting, and your opponent can't respond to that. Yeah, so this card actually combos a bit with Pendulum Core, which prevents your Magician card from being destroyed, which will then trigger the trap third effect. Then there's of course Savage Borrow Load. This is very common in Pendulum Magician. It gives 1 negation and usually is around 3.9k attack, because you equip a link monster and then you add its attack to him. And then our newest addition to the family, the Baron Defleur. And this card combos very well with the artifact side package, but itself it can without the artifact you can also bring it out by getting harmonizing together with Old Dragon. Those two is 6+4, which give you 10, and bringing this out. This card every turn can destroy a card on the field regardless of face up or face down, and once on the field you can negate one spell, trap, or monster activation. So this is a very strong card. Yeah. Harmonizing itself can, once you Pendulum summon it out, you can summon one more Magician card from your deck to the field, but negate and then banish it leaves the field. So these are some of the key cards for Pendulum Magician that you have to take note. For Endymion, of course, your boss monster, which I mentioned just now, once it's summoned out, you can destroy cards on the field based on the number of cards that can hold spell counters on your field. And Servant of Endymion, this is one of the most important cards. You always hope to get this card in your hand. And this card effect, Pendulum effect, is if you remove 3 spell counters from it, you can special summon one card that can hold spell counters from your deck onto the field. Yeah, so it's very this card is one of the key cards to me. Then next is your jacket. So most of the time you want to end your field with a few jackets, 1 or 2 would be good, and then 1 Mighty Master for your Lightning Storm negation or something. And this deck you can play this card called Amano Iwato. This card prevents any player, including yourself, from activating monster effect other than Spirit. But then the thing is, Endymion are not Spirit, but so why do I play this card? The main thing is because most of the time you are actually activating your spell effect rather than the monster effect of your Pendulum cards. So when you normal summon this, although you can't activate monster, but you do not have to activate any monster effect anyway. So your opponent can't throw like Ash Blossom, Maxi, Effect Veiler and stuff once this card is out. And then in order to destroy this card, you can always, once you special summon your Mighty Master, you can choose to destroy your own Amano Iwato, and then you can start activating the rest of the effect. So it helps you to block out all the hand traps and then bringing out your big monster and then destroy everything on the field. And that's one of the reasons why I say that this is a deck that can go second, a lot better than Pendulum Magician. And Spell Power Mastery, this card adds an Endymion card to your hand and then adds 1 spell counter to your one of your card on your field if you have one. So if let's say you have already several Endymion on your field, once you activate this, you add another skill, another Endymion card. Then you can choose to add 1 counter, and then you add 1 on 7. And since it's a spell activation, you get to add 1 more on it. Then since you already added 1 Endymion card to your hand, you can activate in the other skill. And then since it's also a spell, you get to set 1 more spell counter, which will give it 3, and then you can activate its effect. So to me, this card is one of the very important card in the deck because it helps to add more spell counters. Yeah. Okay, we are finishing. Let me quickly run through. So next is Goddess of the Underworld. This card you can actually link it using your opponent's monster, but you can only link away 1 of them. So usually how we use this is we use it with IP Masquerena. We get like 1 IP and 2 other monster out on your own field. And let's say you get like 1 King Jacket and 1 Mighty Master, and let's say they finish their negation already, and you realize that there's more stuff on your opponent's field, and then they summon a huge monster that cannot be affected by card effect or something. But you can still actually link it away using a Masquerena effect. Do correct me if I'm wrong. I remember that you can actually link away unaffected by card effect using Masquerena. Yeah, I might be wrong, so do double check on this. Yeah, but the main thing is you can link away your opponent monster and 2 of yours together with IP Masquerena to come out Goddess. Yeah, so this card itself is very useful. And this card deck you need to play Celine, because Celine gives a lot of spell counters, which will be very useful, especially when you are playing when you have Mighty Master on your skill. Yeah, so mainly these are some of the key cards that you will need for Endymion. And then there's other variants such as Spellbook and Sky Striker. Mainly it's just a looping of spell counters. So these are some cards that you can play around with. Yeah. Okay, so in summary, like, so are you supposed, should you play Pendulum Magician or Endymion? So to summarize everything, you should play Pendulum Magician if you like the versatility and then the fact that it's a very complicated deck. It's like a puzzle actually. Like if you start with these 5 cards, how do you actually bring up your end board and stuff like that. So if you like that kind of gameplay which requires a lot on brain muscle, this deck is for you. And if you actually like also to try out different variant of a similar deck, I think this is also a deck for you, because there's a lot of ways to play this deck. You can check out that link that I mentioned earlier on. Then you should play Endymion if you actually prefer a more straightforward combo. I mean, no offense to all the Endymion player. This is what I think as of now, as compared to the complexity of Pendulum Magician. Endymion is a lot easier as compared to Pendulum Magician. Yeah, not saying it's an easy deck to play. I'm just comparing between these two decks. I'm not saying that in general it's an easy deck. It's still a very complicated deck. It takes quite a while for me to learn how to play this deck, and I'm pretty sure I don't think I play very good right now. Yeah, and because the fact that this deck is very expensive, you'll be stuck with this deck for quite some time, because you actually exhaust out all your tokens. So you think that you want to build this deck, and a lot of cards in this deck actually is really focused on just for this deck. Like Upstart Goblin, it sounds like a very useless card, but Upstart Goblin mainly is used for Endymion and then also Sky Striker. Yeah, so other than this deck, you won't really use Upstart Goblin anywhere, but it's a UR card. Yeah, so if you think you want to stick with this deck for very long, I think this is one deck that you can try. Yeah, so overall, I didn't regret trying out Endymion. I think I love it quite a lot, especially the fact that you can play in the Synchro Festival as well, because it doesn't restrict anything from Endymion. And since we don't require extra deck, this deck is really very useful. And yeah, overall, these are my thoughts on Pendulum Magician and Endymion. And not sure if it helps to bring out more. Not sure if I did answer some of the questions on should I play this or that. I hope I did, but if I did not, do feel free to comment down below, and I will try my best to answer them. And I think there's other Endymion player in my channel as well. Do feel free to drop your comments below in the comments section, and just to help out some new players that's looking into jumping into Pendulum Magician or Endymion. And yeah, so if you're enjoying the content so far, don't remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And also join our Discord channel if you're looking for someone to like discuss about the deck, or just to join in fellow Pendulum community there. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's all for this, and really hope that this video will help some players here. And I'll see you guys in the next video.